All right. It looks to be that we are live. We are live. Welcome to the show. Slightly new format today. I'm just watching off the distance and making sure my thing actually goes live here. All right, there we go. We are live. Officially, a little bit new format to the show today, folks. I'm just going to kind of start doing this in more of a podcast type form and kind of going over a couple different topics every night. I'm going to try to do it potentially every night, video in podcast form. I'm on a new camera today. Not a new camera. I've had this for a while. It's the Panasonic HC-X2000. Because I'm going to be talking a little bit about this one here today, the Panasonic S5. So extend, like I said, a little bit new format. So I'm going to go over quite a different little topics, and directly after I'm done with this video, I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to put little like markers in the video, so you don't have to, wade through all the nonsense that you're not really here for, which is perfectly fine. To go check out the chapters after the fact. So if you're interested in that, maybe shortly after you watch this video, after the live version of it, I can go through and do that. But, it's going to take a little bit of time. So if you are catching this 5 minutes after I'm done, it might not be done yet. But let's get started here. Got a few topics today we're going to talk about. We're going to start with an unboxing of a new microphone setup that I'm going to be using a little bit for the show. Now, I like this boom arm setup, and most of the time you'll see this. But sometimes I may be like kind of moving around or something like that. Plus, I also have a vlogging channel that I'm going to try and start doing a lot more with. So I've got the Synco G2. And G2 A2. So this is a dual microphone. The reason I bought this is because I'm retired Air Force, and I'm getting ready to move to the Philippines here in the next few months. I do have a daughter there. And one of the things that I want to start doing there, this is why I've been so into cameras over the last several years, is because I'm going to kind of be a full-time video maker on YouTube. I want to work with a couple of different people. I've got a few people in mind already. I'm going to add more people to the stable once I get there. And I'm going to try and, Filipinos love YouTube, and I love YouTube too. It's one of my favorite things to do. And if I can help somebody by making them some better quality videos, maybe they have interesting content already, but maybe they don't have the resources to go out and buy something like this. Panasonic S5, or the camera that's shooting this is the ZV-E10 up here. Let's get into this box real quick. Let's show you what the price of it is. You can pick this up for $199, and that's one of the major reasons I bought this over the. I had the G1 years ago, or not years ago, but just recently, and I liked it. I actually thought it sounded to me better than the Rode Wireless Go. So I decided to go ahead and buy this version 2 of it. And I can be behind the camera as well as talking to. I would much rather spend more time behind the camera personally. You see the switcher up here, my ATEM Mini, as I'm going live here. So let's get into this real quick, and then we'll get into the camera stuff. Got the Jackhawk 9000 here. Didn't really need it, but it's the Jackhawk 9000. And put in the comments if you know what that references to. So another thing that's great about this not only is it $100 cheaper, but you also get a case with it, whereas with the Rode Wireless Go 2, you don't get anything. You got to buy the case separately. So this is kind of nice. Got some books here. And so we've got the receiver here, and then 2 transmitters. Another really cool thing about this is if I pull the right baggie here. Oh, well, both of these baggies are going to be actually kind of cool. Oh, everything is really in this one. So you've got one USB cable with 3 Type-C adapters, so you can charge all 3 through one USB cable. You got your adapter thing, but you also comes with 2 lav mics, so you don't have to have this thing. Like, oftentimes you see these things and they're just kind of sticking off somebody's shirt, and that's kind of annoying. So this comes with 2 lav mics. If you got the mics here, and then you have the little accessory bag here, another little accessory bag. Let me just rip this open. You've got all your little adapter things. So you've got it comes with the dead cats or whatever. It comes with all your clips. And all your foam windscreens as well. So I mean, you've got the whole complete setup here, whereas with the for $100 more, all you get is these transmitters and receivers. If you want to buy the lav mics, you got to spend another $60-$70 for the lav mics as well. Will these things last as long as the Rode ones? We don't know. But I think they sound just as good, and I think all in all, I think they're a great buy. So yeah, let's get on with the show now. We have this thing opened up and pretty excited about this. Being able to make some cool videos with that, especially in the future when I'm making my videos in the Philippines. All right, let's get on with the show here. All right. So yesterday, the A7 IV was released. And a lot of people, myself included, probably some of you, are trying to decide whether or not you want to buy a Panasonic S5 for this price, $1997.99. With that being said, this camera generally it spends more time on sale than it does at regular price. So typically you can get this for about $1,700 US rather than $2,000. And the $2,000 is usually with this 20 to 60 kit lens. And I think that's a really good deal. And then this camera here with the body alone is $24.98, and then with the kit lens is $26.98. So quite a bit more expensive. So let's get into this. Which one should you buy? I'll tell you right now. Here's the thing. If you're just starting out in the system right now and wanting to get into full frame camera, buy a full frame camera, and you're not loyal to any system and money is no issue, real simple, buy the A7 IV. I mean, that's the real simple end to this, right? And here's why. And I've said this on every other video that I think I've made about Sony cameras. The lens system is just superior in every way. That's just the way it is. That is just simply the way that it is. I mean, Panasonic, when they came out with the system, they have not focused much on their lenses. And that's all I can say about it. If it wasn't for Sigma, like holding them up single-handedly pretty much, I wouldn't recommend the system to anybody. However, with that being said, I personally think that the colors on the Panasonic are superior in every way to the Sony system. I think the image quality out of the camera is superior to the Sony. One thing for sure is the fact that you can buy this little XLR thing like any day of the week, anywhere you go. Maybe not anywhere. I'm sure you can't buy it at Walmart or Tesco in England, but any camera store generally is going to have that in stock. Try to buy the XLR K3M right now. You're pretty much only going to get it on eBay. And people are, probably most likely price gouging on it, and eBay is going to get really expensive because they know that you can't buy it at any camera store pretty much anywhere in the world. Now, another option would be obviously to buy the FX3, which basically comes with it. But if you want really good quality audio, the Panasonic's definitely the one to go to because you've got this. Plus, it's cheaper. If you can find the K3M in stock somewhere, It's like $550 or $600. This is only like $400 for this thing. So I think in every way the Sony is probably better. When it comes to autofocus system, I think oftentimes you'll see, I've said this in the past, you'll see kind of regurgitated information when it comes to Panasonic cameras. Same with the A7 IV. One of the things I noticed about the A7 IV, I got home from work last night. I didn't want to really watch any of the videos. I was kind of tired. I didn't feel like doing a video last night. So I just kind of came home and just relaxed. I watched the rest of the Squid Games on Netflix and just kind of chilled. I just had 3 episodes or 2.5 episodes left of that watch. If you haven't seen it, you should. It's pretty wild. I think it's a pretty cool show. And plus, I spent a lot of time in Korea. Granted, you don't really see much of Korea, but the little bit you do is kind of, feels pretty cool to see it. So I watched some of the videos this morning, and here's one thing that I kind of noticed. Another kind of regurgitation of old Sony information. DP Review is one of the channels one of the very few camera channels I actually still subscribe to, because they tend to have the best quality information as far as I'm concerned. But in this particular camera, the A7 IV, I thought, when Jordan gets up there and he starts talking about video, he talks about how the rolling shutter is worse on this than it is on the A7 III. And I was like, well, you're not showing that. I don't understand how you can say that, because I've seen the rolling shutter on, other older Sony cameras, and it was terrible. And then yesterday he's like showing his kid, and I was like running around, and I was like, okay. And then he goes like this, and he's like, oh yeah, let's see the rolling shutter. And I'm like, well, I don't see rolling shutter. I see blur, because you're shooting in 24 frames per second, and it's probably getting demolished by YouTube when you go to upload it. So I mean, I felt like it was a lot of regurgitated information on that one for the first time. I don't typically hear that from that channel, from DP Review. I watched Potato Jet's video. I thought Potato Jet's video, especially when he went into the dynamic range area of it, like the dynamic range on this camera is freaking amazing. When he goes into the shadow area of like the building, whatever, it like his skin tones and stuff like that don't change in any way, shape, or form, and the sky color content stays the same. Like the dynamic range on the camera is pretty much something else. Like it is that good on the A7 IV. It seems. Now, if you go in here like spec for spec, obviously it's pretty much the same spec for spec wise. So I mean, if you're really trying to go after whatever the best video quality is, I don't think you can really, the video spec wise, the cameras are the same. You get 422 10-bit, 4K up to 30 frames per second, 420 8-bit on the Panasonic up to 60 frames per second. Sorry. And then 420 10-bit at 60 frames per second. Now, one thing they don't have on the Sony is anamorphic. I didn't hear anything about anamorphic. So you get 10-bit video at 60 frames per second, whereas 422 10-bit, whereas the Panasonic, you get 420 10-bit. That's correct. I did know that. I didn't know that Sony had the 422 10-bit at 60 FPS. Granted, it's all cropped. Remember that. Now, the 4K 30 is no longer cropped in the Sony. I have the A7C here, and when you put it into 4K 30, 4K 24 is fine, but when you put it into 4K 30, there is a crop. There's no 4K 30 crop on this one. It's just when you go to the 60, you get the APS-C crop. Other than that, I mean, you get the anamorphic, like I said. There's no cinema 4K on either one of these, so you don't get the 4096 by 2160 in either one of these cameras. Let's see here. This is the Panasonic, yeah. You get all eye. I don't think Panasonic you get. Maybe you do. Yeah. Okay, so there's a 30-minute record limit on 4K 30, but I believe that's just in 10-bit video. So if you don't use 10-bit video, 422 10-bit video, and then Sony doesn't have. any record limits. So you can record all day. Now, they did do kind of a stress test in potato jets, and the videos were, in 104-degree temperatures, the video or the cameras were shutting down. I think any camera probably will do that. Which one would I buy if I were? Like I said, I would buy the Sony because of the lenses mainly. Just because, as far as the video quality, autofocus is a little better on the Sony. The price is kind of getting me, because I do think, personally, I believe that the Sony cameras should be. I don't look at cameras like the A7C, the Canon RP, and the Nikon Z5 as the entry level into the system. Right? I don't see that as the entry level into the system, because I see those. I see APS-C dying, not necessarily completely like going away. I see APS-C becoming more of a, the old timer, like 1-inch sensor cameras. I think that's what you'll see. Like the ZV-E10, I think, will be kind of your entry level. The people that used to buy Rebels are going to buy the RP now. They're going to buy the Z5, because I think these the ZV-E10s and stuff like that of the world, the M6 Mark II, like, I don't think you're going to see new ones for like long gaps of time, if ever. I think the new way of doing things is for full frame sensors to be your entry level into cameras, not entry level into pros. You know what I mean? So when I see like the A7C, I see that being phones and things are getting so much better now. So the majority of the people that used to buy little 1-inch sensor cameras or the 2/3 sensor cameras, and the little tiny handheld, like a lot of the Olympus cameras and Canon M series cameras, I see those people potentially, if they really want to get into a camera going up to a full frame, that's what they have the RP for. That's what they have the Z5 for. That's what they have the A7C. I think the A7C should drop in price now that the Panasonic or Sony A7 IV is out, and I think that makes that a killer camera if it goes to about $1,500. I look at the full frame system and I say the entry level is this. It's the Canon R6. It's the A7 IV. Entry into pro level cameras, right? I don't know where the S1 really fits into this, because I do think this is the entry level into pro, right? This thing has basically the same video features as the S1H in a much smaller form factor. So I think the price should be around $2,000. I think the Canon R6 is overpriced. I think the A7 IV is overpriced. I'm going to say it. I think it is overpriced. I think the camera should be around $2,000. I think it should be lined right up with this one here. I think both the Canon R6 and the A7C or A7 IV, sorry, should line up directly with the S1 or S5. What I honestly think of the S1 and S1R, not so much as the S1R. I see an S1R Mark II coming out, because that's the photography version, right? That's the 40-something megapixels. Maybe they'll even get Sony's 61 megapixel sensor that's on the A7R Mark IV and the A7R or the Panasonic S1R Mark II. Maybe we won't see a S1 Mark II ever. We'll see an S1H Mark II. Maybe we'll see an S5 Mark II years down the road. This just came out last year, so it's not like imminent to get changed out, right? So I think that when you look at these cameras, I think they're overpriced, and I think when Panasonic, I really, really like this camera. Am I going to change to the A7 IV? No. This camera does everything that I want it to do. Maybe it doesn't have the greatest autofocus system as the A7 IV. No, it doesn't. It's good enough for me, though. It really is. I don't have any issues with the autofocus system on this camera. I'm perfectly fine with it. So the A7 IV, I think, is still a good price, or sorry, a great camera. I just think it's overpriced. And if you're going into a new system and you don't have either one, you don't have any lenses at all, I say A7 IV. If you got the Panasonic S5, keep it. If you have the A7 III, that's up to you if you want to upgrade. Because is the 10-bit video that worth it to you? Obviously, I think if I had an A7 III and I wanted to upgrade, I would still go to the S5. Especially with the Sigma lenses. So if you have the Sigma lenses, you can actually trade them in, send them back to, I don't know exactly what the process is on that. I have to look that up, but you can send them back to Sigma and they'll trade it out or switch out the lens mount, and you can have E mount or L mount, whatever you want to do. So let's go a little bit further today. Next week, October 27th, OM Digital will announce the new naming structure and share first info about the new Wow camera. Here's what I'm hoping for this. There's no specs on this thing. I can now confirm OM Digital plans to make two kinds of announcements. Announcements of the new naming structure. There will be rebranding of the OMD EM to OM1D, OM SD, OM 10D, etc. So, some of the Olympus is gone now. It's OM Digital now. Teaser of the new Wow camera launched in early 2022. New kind of sensor. EM1 size body. Now, what would be interesting about this camera, like I said the other day about this camera, we briefly talked about it for a second. Olympus has a phase detect autofocus with a micro four thirds sensor, so you've got access to all of those lenses from both Panasonic and Olympus, plus plenty of great third-party lenses from Sigma, for one, from Samyang. Don't be surprised if some of these Samyang lenses that are coming out now for APS-C, maybe even Tamron coming out for micro four thirds. We don't know. With the Tamron making APS-C lenses now for Sony and Fuji, maybe they come out with micro four thirds, specifically because of the next thing we're going to talk about, the GH6 that is coming out very soon as well. They have a phase detect autofocus system. They have the best stabilization in the game. That's one of the things that kind of goes underrated with Olympus cameras, previous Olympus cameras. I imagine these cameras are going to be kind of fairly similar in design, but there will be differences to them. I think obviously you have a kind of a different company, right? So I could see them being more video focused in this one. Typically, Olympus has been photography focused. Even their big EM1X that came out a few years back still only had 8-bit video and 4K 30 maxed out. And I think, they've got to understand that. I think when it comes to the cameras, and I don't think you can argue against this. I really don't see any argument against this, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. The camera world right now is run by videographers. And I can prove that because look at the upgrades from the A7 III to the A7 IV, right? Other than the 24 to 33 megapixel sensor, every upgrade on there is video. Prove me wrong. It is. Every upgrade on the camera is for video. I mean, we went with 10-bit video. We went up to 4K 60. We got all eye. We got, better tracking and video. Got the fully articulating screen, which is more useful for video shooters. I think every upgrade on this other than when you go into photography features, this still has 10 frames per second max shooting burst. Now there is a bigger buffer. So if you're going to spray and pray, you can let it go all damn day, pretty much. As long as you have enough SD cards in there, you can pretty much shoot all day. Just, if you want to go raw, it does go down to 5. And there's different levels of raw too, which is kind of cool when it comes to photography on the camera. But the majority of the upgrade features, when you're talking about the differences between the A7 III and the A7 IV, the majority of what you're talking about is video features. So, Canon in the last year have typically come out with, they've in the last year or two, well, the last year really, started putting, higher end video features in their, consumer level cameras like this. The Canon R6 and the Canon R5 were the first, to my knowledge, other than the 1DX series and the 5D Mark IV a little bit, to have any kind of higher end video features. Being like 10-bit video and stuff like that. Typically, they've had 8-bit 4K 30 over the last several years, and just recently started to kind of upgrade their videos. Nikon the same way. They upgraded a lot of their video features when it came to the Z6 and Z7 Mark IIs. Video runs the camera world right now. If it wasn't for video, I honestly think that you would see a lot less upgrades to cameras. They would come out a lot less. Like the cameras themselves wouldn't come out nearly as much, especially in today's world, because the only thing really keeping camera companies alive right now are their more professional level cameras, because the majority of people that just bought cameras that they put in the closet for the majority of the year and take out once in a while when they go travel somewhere, they're using their smartphones now for that. Those people aren't buying cameras anymore, which is probably where they made most of their profit previously to smartphones. Yes, these things were $2,000 full frame cameras, but when you sell 5 of them for every 100 that you sell the other ones of the $400 cameras, if I give you an option to sell and you get all the profits, and I have 100 $400 cameras and 10 $2,000 cameras, which one are you going to take? I'm going to take the 10 or the 100 $400 cameras. This is going to make me a lot more money. So now, with smartphones being as good as they are, people don't buy all those cheap cameras. Actually, you don't even see them anymore. None of the camera companies have come out with like the little 2/3 sensor with the super zooms on them in years. Bridge cameras. The last bridge camera we got was the Panasonic. What was it called? It was the 1000 something or the other, but it had the 1-inch sensor. But that was in like 2018. That was almost 3 years ago that camera came out, right about 3 years ago. That was the last 1-inch sensor. Obviously, the ZV-10 or the ZV-1 came out last year, but previously to that, I think it's been since 2018 or 20. I think it's 2018 since we've had even a 1-inch sensor from any of the other companies, right? 2/3 sensors, the smaller ones. I think Nikon has had one in the last year or two, but prior to that, it's been several years, 2017, 2018, since we got any kind of new 2/3 sensors. It's been years. And those used to come out every year. And I think those are dying. I think APS-C is the next. I do not think APS-C will ever die, but I don't think you'll ever see any kind of major upgrades to APS-C other than, I want to say, crop sensor, micro four thirds in the GH series, and Olympus cameras, potentially OMD or OM digital, or the Fujifilm cameras. But your Sonys and your Canon APS-C, I would really like to see an R-mount APS-C camera, professional one. I also won't be surprised if we don't see it. The reason I say that is because a lot of people used to use this, especially sports and wildlife photographers used to use a 7D or 80 or 90D, whatever they wanted to do for the crop factor. So you get a 70-200 lens. Now you got the crop and you got the full readout of the sensor, rather than, obviously you can put that on a full frame camera and turn it into a crop sensor, but you're not getting the entire sensor readout anymore. So the resolution isn't there. If I put my full frame camera, if I take my A7C here and I put a 70-300 on it, and then I put it in crop mode, I'm going to get 12 megapixel photo out of it, rather than a 24 megapixel photo if I keep it in full frame mode, but I'm only getting the 70-300. Whereas if I put it in APS-C, I'm getting like a 105-450 or something like that. So now with these cameras, though, you get the two times crop factor. So you put a 100-400 on there, and you get a 200-800. That's why a lot of people use those as well. for sports and wildlife photography. Now, that's one of the things Olympus was really good at, especially the EM1X was a really great wildlife photography camera. However, it wasn't really necessarily a good video camera, other than the fact that it has really great stabilization, the best in the business, and really good autofocus comparatively, to Panasonic's. They still have a phase detect autofocus system in the Olympus cameras. I'm really excited about this because I really think that what they'll do is they'll go towards a more video focused camera in the future. I think they kind of have to if they want to kind of live in this world that we're living in today, where I think video is driving the camera industry. You got to go with a more high-end video camera. So when they say wow, I'm thinking that's what they're going with. They're probably going to go with some sort of higher end video camera. It's still going to have great photography features. They're still going to be there. Trust me, they will be, because that's what Olympus is kind of known for. However, I think with this, you'll also get some great video features. So maybe we'll get some 10-bit video. I think for sure we're going to get at least 4K 60, maybe even higher than that. Who knows? Let's move on. So some camera company, Camera Pro, is already accepting pre-orders for the GH6 if you want to spend $10,000. I'm joking. That's a placeholder number. So the Panasonic Lumix GH6 is now available for pre-order at the Camera Pro Australia. Let's just click here and look at it. So there it is. It's kind of cool. They don't have a price on it, obviously, but 5.7K 60p video, 10-bit sampling, DCI 4K 10-bit 422. So the rumor is, whoops. The display price is just a placeholder. Don't worry. Update. Also, the Dutch store, Camera New and Camera Express are accepting pre-orders. As you know, the Panasonic promised a major announcement next week on October 27th. And on the same day, also OM Digital will announce the new OM camera and the new naming structure. I don't know if the camera will be announced that day. What I think Panasonic will probably do, and I hope that'd be badass if they did, but I expect there just to be more of a spec. I remember when the S1 and S1R came out, they announced the development of it, and then they slowly kind of gave us little snippets of what the camera could do. So maybe we'll know what the sensor can do, what megapixel count the sensor is going to be. Maybe we'll know, because I think it's going to have to be a bump from 20 megapixels. I could be wrong on that. I haven't done the math, or I haven't really looked it up to get to 5.7K. I could be wrong on that. I'm not really exactly sure, but yeah, we'll definitely get some new information on it next week. Yeah, I wasn't necessarily disappointed with it. It's just I wanted full readouts of the 4K 60. I did want that because of what I do here. I want this to be 60 frames per second because I'm just doing like a news broadcast, basically. That's what I see here. Would I do this if I'm out filming? No, I wouldn't shoot in 60 typically. But the fact that it's cropped, I don't use the 4K 60 on my S5. I use 4K 30 when I shoot these videos, simply because the S5 has a crop in 4K 60. But I'm super interested in the GH6, honestly. Super, super interested in the GH6 for so many reasons. Because it's basically a Micro Four Thirds version of the A7S Mark III, which is kind of my dream camera, just so unbelievably far out of any kind of price range that I would want to be in. I have one of the things holding me back on the A7 IV is the fact that it's $2,500. If this thing was under $2,000, I would already have pre-ordered it. I promise you. $2,500, nah, it ain't worth it to me. The autofocus system, it isn't worth it to me. This camera is basically the same thing as far as I'm concerned. And I've already got a a whole bunch of batteries. I've got a couple of lenses for it already. I've got the battery chargers. I've got the battery grip for it. I got cages for it. I've got the little grip extension down here for small rig, which is the only grip extension I've ever seen for a camera that is completely flush to the bottom of the camera itself. Yeah, that's terrible, man. They're just, I feel that camera's worth way more than that. Yeah, the price doesn't justify it. However, I also don't know. The rumored price of a GH6 is $2,500. I don't see it being that high. I just don't see it being that high because it's a micro four thirds. I mean, I don't care what kind of specs you put in. It's still a micro four thirds sensor. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't think you can put a camera in the same with that much smaller of a sensor. I don't know. Just my opinion. I don't think this camera is supposed to go neck and neck with the A7 IV or the S5. And then also looking at these specs, like, why would you spend $2,500 on a GH6 when you can buy an S5 for $500 less? And you get a full frame sensor. Yes, it doesn't have. Well, it actually does have 6K video. It is up to 30 frames per second, but you need an Atomos Ninja, another $500, and you've got a full frame that can do all the same things. Man, I hope not. I could see it, but I hope not. I've heard rumors of 2,500, and the great thing about Panasonic though with the micro four thirds system, like I said the other day in my video, like the lenses are just there's so many of them to choose from. Between you got two major companies, it's the only system in the world you have two major companies that make lenses for it. You know, so you've got access to the entire Olympus lineup, which is massive. You got access to the entire Panasonic lineup, which is massive. Plus plenty of, a couple different third parties. I could see Tamron making lenses for micro four thirds. I want to say maybe they already have, but it's years ago. I want to say they made some sort of telephoto lens many, many years ago, like a 45 to 100 or something like that. Maybe an 18 to 140 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I want to say that they did make a micro four thirds lens many years ago. But either way, you have access to all those different lens lineups. Sigma makes a couple of different lenses. I'm kind of surprised they didn't come out with that 18 to 50 F2.8 that they just announced the other day. They didn't come out with it for micro four thirds. They came out with that for L mount, which really just now there's 4 dedicated APS-C lenses for L mount. And there is no APS-C camera for L mount. I don't know about. Don't quote me on that. I don't know about Leica. I don't know if Leica has. Maybe I think Leica has a APS-C sensor, but I don't think anybody's buying a Sigma lens for their $18,000 Leica camera. I think if you're gonna spend $18,000 on a photography camera, a point and shoot, photography camera, you probably got enough money to spend another $5,000 or $6,000 on a lens, and you're probably not looking at Sigma. I've heard that there's an autofocus, a hybrid. I think we talked about it a little bit before there. I've heard that there's a hybrid autofocus system that Panasonic may be coming out with, and that may be the announcement next week. That they're going to have a hybrid autofocus that could be part of the announcement. I've heard rumors that they were putting this camera on hold until 2022 because of the global chip shortage. When this camera comes out, it's going to be a hot commodity. Everybody's going to want it, rightfully so. I think they're going to want to make sure they've got plenty of them in stock. I think that's also why the A7 IV came out so late. I think the A7 IV was supposed to come out last year. I really do. And I think that, the supply shortage kind of started last year. They probably maybe saw it coming. Obviously, they tried to get out a Sony PS5. And when's the last time you saw one of those in a store? Yeah. Oh, yeah, never. So with the global chip shortage, I think Sony was probably like, well, let's stockpile these things to the sky before we put them on sale because we knew what happened with the A7 III. And it's probably going to be worse with the A7 IV because it's a camera that is probably more anticipated than the A7 III was, considering the A7 II was like oh, there's an A7 II, who cares? And then the A7 III was like, wow, look at that. And now the A7 IV is like, wow. You know what I mean? So for video shooters, and like I said, video runs the world, whether you want to admit it or not. Video runs the camera world right now. Photographers aren't running the camera world. We wouldn't be talking about an A7 IV if it didn't shoot video. I can promise you that. We wouldn't be talking about a GH6 if it didn't shoot video. I can promise you that. The A7 IV wouldn't be out if this camera only took photos. It wouldn't be available because nobody would buy a Panasonic camera if it only took photos. Yeah, see, I'm hoping that Canon will. I don't know if that'll happen or not. But I would like to see them ditch the EFM, mainly because they really have just they've put that camera system on the back burner since it came out. It's never really been all that prevalent, and and they've never come out with a really even somewhat considered pro camera. Nothing they have right now in EFM has replaced the 7D. Not even really the 80 or 90D, So I would love to see something replace that. I've talked to a lot of camera stores. Sometimes I feel like a salesman when I'm in there. When I'm in like Best Buy, what is it? Like Curry's PC World is like our Best Buy. I'm sure you know that. Probably. But I've gone into like Best Buy here and I start talking to people. People that work in Best Buy, they're there to sell shit. They don't really know anything about what they're selling. They're there for a job. And I get there and I'm talking to these guys and trying to figure out what they're doing with their cameras and try to lead them in the direction that they're trying to go, and I talk to guys that are, look at one guy was shooting with a 60D. He was trying to buy a 100 to 400 or 100 to 500 L lens for his 60D. And then he was talking to me about what he should get next for a camera. And there's a 90D there and a 60D Mark II there. And I was like, well, I mean, if you really want to upgrade, I would wait just a little bit longer because maybe we'll get an R7. I don't think anything that's currently on the market really fit any of his desires of what he wanted to do. He wanted to shoot a lot of wildlife. He had a nice 100 to 500 that he was buying. No, I'm not pre-ordering the A7 IV. Nope. I just think this does everything I needed to do, and I love this camera. The Panasonic S5 is a really, really great camera. I love the image quality that comes out of it. It's the best autofocus I've used out of a Panasonic camera, and I've used several of them. It is by far the best, and if they improve on this with the GH6, the GH6, I mean, it's going to be really great. I really do think so. I would love to have a Micro Four Thirds camera for many reasons. One reason, I like those Sigma lenses. I love those Sigma lenses. The Sigma 16 1.4, I would love to pair it with this for this type of channel right here. I would love to pair that 16 millimeter 1.4 on the GH6 for gimbal use. I think that would be a really great little combo. Yeah, absolutely. I want to see what the price is on it. If it's $2,000, I'll pre-order the GH6 right away. Just like that. I'll pre-order it that day. If it's $2,500, I'll have to sit on it for a few days and think about it. I don't really want to spend $2,500 on a camera right now. I like the fact that it's likely going to use the same battery as this. So I've already got a bunch of these batteries, the first party ones. I've got the battery chargers already. That's going to be really nice. Be able to use the same battery. I know the GH5 Mark II also uses the same battery, the new kind of newer battery. What is this called? The DMW BLK22. It uses that new battery. But we will find out, and we will definitely have a show October 27th. October 27th is going to be a really big day. Next week, we have 5 days. and possibly 2 Micro Four Thirds cameras coming out. One for Panasonic, one for Olympus, and one more. Oh, I clicked on something. I don't know what I clicked on. A DJI Action 2. I'm a big fan of action cameras as well. I love action cameras. I think, and if you're gonna start any kind of vlogging type channel, I think an action camera is just, you can't beat it, because of their unbelievably ridiculously good stabilization that action cameras have. So this looks like it's going to be the DJI Action 2. We don't know if it's actually the Action 2. It's got a totally different form factor, if you will. But this looks like these look like real images. They don't look like they're just drawings or paint or digital images or anything like that. These look like they're like the real deal. That's a real USB cable. This is a real like lanyard thing. That's a real buckle mount for the GoPro mounts. I think that's probably a battery pack. And then I'm wondering like how big this actually is, and maybe we're going to get kind of a larger sensor in this thing. Today may be the day that DJI unveils its first ever professional camera. So this was actually done 2 days ago, the 20th. But a major leak has revealed plenty about another forthcoming product, the DJI Action 2 camera. This leak contains many images of the actual product as well as detailed specifications and features. Hop on. A few weeks ago, DJI or Drone DJ reported about a leaked user manual of the Action 2, which is set for an October 27 launch. In the meantime, the product was accidentally revealed by a YouTuber in a video. So, of course, all the YouTubers probably already have this camera, all the big-time YouTubers. I'm sure Potato Jet's got it. I'm sure Kai Wong's got it. I'm sure the Justine's probably got it. A lot of the other vlogging-type camera channels probably all have it. More details emerged. The Action camera showed up on the FCC database. Now, Conrad Iturbe, a developer who likes to reverse engineer devices, has dumped several images and specs of the product on his Medium account. Here are all the deets. Top features of the DJI Action 2 camera: magnetic versatility. That's kind of cool. If you could just magnet this thing to anything, refrigerator or whatever, inside your car, outside of your car, kind of cool. 4K 120 frames per second, so no like anything more than that. It's not going to compete with the GoPro's 5.3K video, but a super wide field of view, portable and wearable, so you get a little lanyard necklace thing. So I'm sure there's probably something you can probably stick in your shirt, kind of like the snap mount, which I also have. That's pretty cool. I really like the snap mount. 10-meter waterproof, AI editor. What has the DJI's most powerful action camera yet? Well, there's only 2 of them, so I would hope the second one was better than the first one. I hate when the companies do that. You ever watch an Apple iPhone announcement and they're like, this iPhone is the best one yet. Would you come out with the worst one? The Action 2 is said to feature an innovative magnetic design that would let you effortlessly swap out accessories as you capture life on the go. Leaked images further show that the camera's lightweight aluminum alloy body has a sleek, minimalistic look with a special emphasis on the shape and angle of the lens. Let's take a look at the images below. What would be kind of cool is if there's also, like the DJI Pocket 2 came with the Creator bundle, which had a wireless microphone system in it. It would be kind of cool if this kind of had something along those lines too, some sort of attachment or bundle that you could buy with a wireless microphone system. That would be kind of cool. So here's like the look of the camera. Looks pretty cool. I guess the battery kind of attaches to the side of it. I'm assuming it's probably something to deal with that. Maybe the battery is magnetic. I don't know if that's really kind of something you want to have for action sports, but looks like you can put a little lanyard on there. This little spot right there. 155-degree field of view. F2.8 over 1.7 inch sensor. So it's basically, it's like the same size sensor that's in the basically a 3/4 inch sensor is what it is. It's a 1/1.7 sensor, which is the same size sensor that's in the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. Here's another look at it. It's pretty cool looking. I like that they just went with a whole new design rather than the same old like little rectangular body that every other action camera has. This kind of looks more like the old GoPro. What is that thing called? Little cube thing. Released never before seen heights with the capability to shoot 4K 120, 155-degree view, horizon steady, all-terrain action camera, DJI 2 creative features, so time lapse, show off your creative with flare, with show stopping. This is like something that would be from the press release. This kind of like the way this is worded and stuff like that would be something that would be kind of more for a press release. So this seems to be maybe just regurgitated information that they already have from that. Front touchscreen module. So I imagine there's some sort of adapter, which that's kind of a especially if they're going to charge extra for it, unless there's a bundle for it. I'm assuming that there's probably this is probably like the base, what you see here, and then there'll be a bundle kind of thing. So again, we'll have a show next week. Obviously, I want to try to do the shows. If you see like the thumbnail, you see the number 69. I put number 69 in there because this is actually the 69th video I've done on this channel. And I intend to do this pretty much every night if I can. And do kind of like a podcast type form. I don't really think anybody else is kind of, David Osler in Australia kind of does like a podcast type thing where he kind of talks about the news. But for the majority of the things, he pretty much sticks with Sony cameras. I'm going to try to pretty much do everything because I'm interested in all cameras. And I've got this equipment now, so it's kind of cool that I can use this. So anyways, that's about it for today's video. A lot of cool stuff happening right now in the camera world. It's a good time to be in the camera world, camera business. It's pretty exciting. Can't wait for all these new cameras. October 27th is going to be a huge day. It's Techtober, if you've noticed. It's Techtober. All the new phones have come out. The new iPhones just recently came out. The new Google Pixel phones just came out. Recently, in September, the new Samsung Flips and Folds just came out. A couple of new cameras this month. The A7, the new DJI 4D, Ronin 4D thing came out. That thing's looked badass. I would love to have one. Just, again, I don't see myself spending $7,200 on a camera. Love to, but I don't see myself doing it. But again, I'll time stamp everything so you can go back and you don't have to listen to all the nonsense that I've been talking about if you only want to hear about one thing. And I plan to do that every night. Matter of fact, right after I'm done with this video, I'm going to go in and I'm going to rewatch this and go timestamp it. So you can see the chapters down below. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all for coming in and watching and chatting with me in the chat box here. Hopefully we'll get some more people in the future. Pretty excited about that. I love having conversations about cameras, seeing what other people are shooting with. BMPP6K. Yeah, I like that camera. I would say the only thing with the BMPP6K cameras for me, one, it's got Canon EF mount. Great mount, but I can assure you there'll never be another lens for that system. So, I mean, yeah, you've got a beautiful 18-35 Sigma lens. That's probably the best in the business for that setup. I would love to have that little setup. It would be pretty nice. But beyond that, in the future of EF lenses, I don't know. There's no more EF cameras, I can tell you that much. So why would there be more lenses? If there could be some sort of adapter, or maybe they change that thing out. Maybe they do a new 6K or a new 4K with, I don't know. Maybe they make a full frame version of that. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Have a good night.